All right, welcome back to another episode of Lounge 11 with Femi and Samco. Happy New Year to all of our listeners. Samco, I know we've been chatting, but Happy New Year. How are you doing, man?
I'm all right. Happy New Year, bro.
Yeah.
It's been a few days, but there's a lot to talk about. So looking forward to it,
We
man.
have a very packed agenda, man. A very,
Yeah,
very packed agenda. But we did have a very interesting Dirty December out in Lagos. I think a good opportunity to connect with members of our just I guess people that watch our podcast and also like members of our banter community. So what did you make of that experience in Lagos?
it was really good. It was about time we put some faces to a lot of names. It was good to meet a lot of people for the very first time. We also
Yeah,
had the opportunity to do one of our episodes in person. So that
right,
as well
right.
was fun. Shout out to Turniverse for giving us some of our time as well. But I'll say it was a very good December, just hanging around with friends and family and just doing what we do best and what we enjoy. It was really, really good. So shout out to everybody we got to meet and spend some time with. So looking forward to more opportunities like that.
Yeah, I certainly enjoyed myself in Lagos. Meeting a lot of those guys, and even some of the ladies that joined us as well. Definitely the Tonyverse interview was really interesting. It was fun to get into the studio and kind of, it was our first time, in the studio together in the same
Yeah.
place recording, and to share that with Tony was really, really cool. Lots of people definitely enjoyed that episode, so love to see it. But I think we'll probably just jump right into it because, like you said, there is
It's a
plenty on the
lot.
agenda. So maybe one of the places we'll start today is the one that kind of shook everybody initially. I don't even know if it came as a shock, but, the news definitely rocked football when it happened for a few hours, which is
Mhm.
Maresca's firing at Chelsea.
Yeah.
Um, did you see that one coming, right? Because it looked like he talked himself into it at some point.
Yes. Yeah, I think he definitely did talk himself into it. Did I say it coming? I can't say I did because I think Maresca is a very good manager. I think tactically you could tell he's someone who's very aware. I like his ability to be flexible, especially when you're coaching one of the biggest teams in the world in one of the toughest league as well. So definitely I'll say that came out as a great shock. But there's a reason he talked himself out of that job. And based on I'm just going to keep calling the Chelsea guys the Blue Co. So just summarize all of them in one. So I think he talked himself out of the job because I think he thought he's found himself in a positions where he could be able to make some certain demands. I want to believe, and there were a few of also called how the Blue Co people have come into Chelsea and what's a lot of I believe the Chelsea fans would have expected from them is not what they are getting. Few of us are definitely not shocked about it. I was one of the few people who said it from time, like the way these people are going to manage this football club was going to be so much different from what they were used to in terms of the Roman era. And how many years I went into it? I'm guessing 5, 6 years already.
No, the
And
Blue Co. What is it?
it's
I
not
don't
up to
even think it's up
three,
to 3 years. I don't think it's up to three
really.
years.
They
Yeah.
were the one that hired Tuchel, right?
Yeah, and he
Didn't
spent
they?
7 games or something there.
Yeah. So okay, so I thought it was even 5 to 6 years, but I'm definitely not surprised in what we see, how they're managing the football club, and I think Chelsea fans should be ready for more. That's
Yeah,
crazy decision by them.
I just looked it up as we were speaking. They completed their takeover in May 2022. So yeah, it's just under 4 years.
Wow. So 4 years. Okay.
It's not even 4 years yet,
Yeah.
which is ridiculous. Um, it's funny because reports pointed to breakdown relationships, behind the scenes, disagreement over medical staff and maybe getting players ready for games and things like that. I think we saw that he had skipped, I don't know if it was Bournemouth. They played a game and they skipped the post match
The post match.
conference.
Yeah.
And then I think his assistant came out and said something about him being sick. We could all see
Hmm.
beyond that something was brewing.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, got fired. The allegations that he had pressured or put pressure on was it medical staff to wanting to get players fit? How did you see that?
Um, to be honest, I don't know much in depth on that. I think Chelsea fans would be the best people to help us in those situations. But I think I can only bring my club into that. I think I can only speak based on how I would see my club operating, right? I think the medical staff and the coaching department definitely want to be on the same page, right? We also need to realize that the welfare of these players are definitely have to be top priority. If the medical teams believe that these players are in a red zone, orange zone, and believe the workload should be managed, I think the coaching staff definitely should take suit and follow those people because that's their expertise, right? So in that situation, I think I'll side with medical department, but I also want to believe that the coaching staff, the medical departments, they definitely have to be aligned because they communicate on a daily basis and stuff like that. So I can't really say much about that because I don't know the in-depth of what it was like in Chelsea, but I'll just say based on how or what I know of my club, how they've operated, especially this season, and how I believe they should operate, I think both departments definitely have to be on the same page. How
Yeah,
was it for you? How do you think? What were your
yeah. I
opinions
mean,
based on when you saw that?
I was actually just shocked. I mean, it was kind of brewing because a few weeks before that, he had talked about, some discontent with people within the club, and nobody quite knew what he was referring to at the time. And I think it became clear. What I was shocked about was Maresca, I think, like you said, is a really good manager, brought some stability to the club, even won a couple trophies, including, what you call, I can't remember what you call the World Club trophy or whatever, but, the World Club Cup or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Such a tongue twister at times. So I just don't know what to make of that decision because they look like they were trending in, I guess, the right direction in terms of where they were and, just the stability that it provided. Now it's like they've reset the whole thing back, which is
Mm-hmm.
really, really what is telling to me. I'm just not sure where to go from here. And they keep throwing out these long contracts, right? You bring Maresca, you give him, what is it, 6 years or 7 years? I
Mm-hmm.
don't remember. You
Yeah.
let him go within two, right? This is the second year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and now obviously they've appointed a new manager now, giving him another six
Given
and a half
another
year
6 years.
contract. The players are still the same. Nobody understands the transfer policy. The players that they're bringing in don't look like they're actually moving the needle. So
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know what to make of the situation at Chelsea. But I think Maresca would definitely land on his feet somewhere.
Yeah.
He has shown that he's a good enough manager to earn a top job elsewhere.
Yeah. I think you also I mean, it depends on how people look at it. I think the blue coat people also have to be looked at as well.
The blue
When
coat people
Tuchel
is killing me.
when Tuchel when Tuchel was their manager, he
Oh
left for a
god.
reason. Pochettino was their
Right.
manager, he left for a reason. And I think Maresca is leaving for the same reason as well.
Right.
There's a certain way I think these guys view how they want to operate this club. And I think a lot of their fans need to also see it as well. In terms of their transfer strategy was very obvious from day one. They are in here to flip, buy young players and flip them, right? But it's a
Right.
little bit strange because if you remember the first period when they came in, these were the same guys that brought in what's the name of that centre back that came in from Napoli? It just
That's-
skipped my head. But they
Oh,
brought in like the
the
Sterlings
guy that is now
in Saudi Arabia.
in Saudi, yeah,
Yeah.
Koulibaly or something. What's his
Yeah,
name?
they brought in all those guys, the Sterlings, they went in, they brought in Enzo and all. So it looked like they were still going in the Roman way of like recruitment. But I think they switched that very quickly and now they want to buy young, flip them and make some money, which again, it doesn't tell me they want to be competitive,
Right.
right? It doesn't tell me they want to be competitive. If they are lucky enough to pick up the little cups here and there, I think they might be satisfied with that. But then again, you also have to look at it like this: what a lot of people know Chelsea to be is not where they are. Even I myself have called Chelsea a cup a cup team. But you also have to. But I went back to look at since the blue cup people came in, and I started asking myself, Chelsea really a cup team? because the only cups I think they've won under these guys outside the Champions League were the Conference League and the preseason trophy that they got, right? In England, they made it to a few finals in Wembley. They've lost all of those, right? In the Conference League, I don't think anybody ever doubted Chelsea were going to win that competition because you also have to look at the level of teams that they played in that competition, right? And then the preseason one they won in the Club World Cup. I think a few people know my stance on that, right? Yes, they won it on merit. They earned their right there based on winning the Champions League in I think 2021 or 2022. But I still came back and I said, when I look at that competition, the English champions were not there. The Italian champions were not there. I don't even believe the Spanish champions were there. I think it was just the French and
Real Madrid,
German
yeah. So Barcelona
champions.
wasn't there.
Yeah, Barcelona wasn't there, right? So I started doubting my own take on saying that they're actually a cup team. When you look at that squad doesn't really have the quality of players that a lot of people think they do. Yes, they have some good players that you can even consider world class, the likes of Caicedo, Rhys James, maybe Cole Palmer, and stuff like that. But look at the team. This is the same team that have spent over 250 million in this summer. And I don't think they were better than, I don't think the squad quality is better than what they had last season, right? So if you look at what Maresca has already done with that squad, that tells you that he's a manager with the capabilities of doing much better with quality players, right? So if you're letting such good manager leave because I believe he's not becoming the yes man that they thought they hired in the beginning, that tells you a lot because when you look at the manager they've hired now, nothing screams yes man more than Liam. Like notice, and it's funny because I don't know if you remember in some of our group chats, even before Maresca was sacked, I said it. If they sack Maresca, I see them going to hire Liam
You did say that
from
actually.
Strasbourg, exactly,
Yeah. I
and that
couldn't
is
understand it at the
exactly
time, but yeah,
and that
you
is
said that.
exactly what they went to go do because it's part of their sister club. He understands how the model works, and he is going to be a yes man. So again, you need to look at it and you see that everything starts from the top. So I think it's a very silly decision from them to sack Maresca, especially with what he has done, because a lot of us were made to believe that Chelsea were on the up. And I believed that as well because of the manager that they had, more so than the players or the quality of players that they had.
So I mean, my final question on Chelsea. You know that I've called time of death on their top four
Mhm.
chances
Yeah,
as early as December. But what do you make of their top four chances now? They're out of the top four currently. I think they're is it eight or seven? I
seventh
actually
or
don't
eighth. Yeah.
remember. Yeah. I mean, it's still really tight around that area, but do you think that they can realistically make top four right now?
I mean, when you look at the table, you say yes because of the point gap, but we're entering the crunch part of the season. So that's why I think that is going to be more difficult for them to make top four because now he's going to have to juggle a lot of competitions. That is Liam, the new manager. He's in the semifinals of the Carabao Cup. He goes into the FA Cup. He plays into the Champions League and he's going to play in the Premier League. How is he going to be able to navigate through that? Being this is the very first high profile job that he has ever had in his career, basically. So I think the edge that they had with Maresca, I think they've lost that with this manager that they have. Yes, I might be calling it too early and it might be a little bit like, dropping the gun and saying you don't know how it's going to end up. But there's a different pressure when you manage a club like Strasbourg and when you manage a club like Chelsea, right? The fans have certain expectations, especially. Like you need to look at how these clubs in Europe, or actually, I'll go in Europe, these big clubs in Europe, their fans have a lot of expectations. And now you're putting all that on a manager, which I feel is unfair, that really doesn't have the experience on the top level. Some people might come out and say, oh, but Mikel got a job. I was one of those people who was against Mikel getting the job when he got the job at Arsenal because I believed he didn't even have any experience whatsoever to be getting the job of that magnitude. And I'm not going to change anytime now. You're going to have to prove me wrong. So in terms of making top four, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for them to get to the top four, especially now you have the team likes of Aston Villa who are doing real good. You're seeing Newcastle, they're beginning to come up. Brentford, all of a sudden, a team that we thought was going to be up for relegation, are up there. I'm guessing Manchester United is going to get in a new manager, even though I don't think they will make it in the top four. So based on the point gap, I think they have a chance, but I think it's going to be very, very difficult. And the main reason as well has to do with this manager who is coming into a new league, is going to face a different type of challenge. Like think about it, he's going to be playing every 3 days for the next month or a little bit over a month. He's going to have to navigate that, right? A semi-final in Carabao Cup is not, and again, he's playing against Arsenal, right? I can't remember where they are in the Champions League. He needs to try and ensure he's in the safe spot in the Champions League. If not, he's going to be playing one of the playoffs position. And then the FA Cup is starting, and now he's in the Premier League. So it's going to be very, very tough for him.
I made the bold call, I think I can't remember, but somewhere in December where they were just maybe a couple points off fourth. And it seemed crazy at the time to suggest that Chelsea would not be top four. And then what I pointed out was you look at, obviously, the number 1 and 2 look like they're probably going to be, set in stone one way or the
Yeah,
other. Either it's
yeah.
City, Arsenal, Arsenal, City.
Mm-hmm.
Villa, they're doing well. I just don't know that they have enough to sustain a serious run till the end of the season. But their performances suggest that they will be there or thereabouts in the top four, at the end of the season. Now, Unai can still definitely Unai at any time, but
Mm-hmm.
we have to give them credit for what they've done so far. So that's 3 spots, right? And then you
Yeah.
look at the rest of the table. Liverpool obviously have not had a very good season, but they've been consistent enough over the last 9 to 10 games or so.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're unbeaten or something crazy like
Yeah,
that.
we've been
Even
sitting
though,
8 or 9.
yeah, a lot of it
Yeah,
has been draws, but they're
yeah,
there and they're still the defending champions. So I would fancy them to actually make top four, and so that
yes.
leaves it's like a lot of things have to go right
Chelsea's
for
way.
Chelsea
Yeah,
for them to actually make top four, right? They have
yeah.
to put in a very consistent run over the next, 18, 19 games or however many games are left in the season and be more consistent than any of those other 2 teams
Other
that I just
teams.
mentioned.
Yeah.
And mind you, while doing that, holding off the likes of Newcastle, holding off the likes of Manchester United, it just seems like too many things have to go perfect for Chelsea to make top four. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
why I made the call, even like this was before they fired Maresca. Now firing Maresca and introducing all of the different variables you just shared about Liam, what's his last name again? The new manager.
Rosena
Yeah,
or Rosena? Yeah,
basically now you have a new manager that's supposed to come in and steady the ship and manage all these different competitions. I just think it's unlikely, but I'm sure that for Chelsea fans, for their sake, they'll hope I'm wrong. And we're sitting down here at the end of the season and, clipping this and saying, look how wrong you were.
yeah. I think if you also ask the Chelsea fans, are they willing to make a bet on that? I don't think a lot of them can do that. It's a
They've gone quiet.
very
They've gone quiet.
Yeah, it's a big challenge they face right now. And that's why
Right.
it's a little bit strange that the board definitely did make that decision at this crucial point of the season,
Right,
right?
right,
Yeah.
right.
So,
Anyway, let's move on. Speaking of managerial roulette, it's not just Chelsea. Manchester
yeah.
United are also in the mix. They made a change in letting go of Amorim. I don't think anybody was surprised to see that. I think the manner in which it happened is probably what's surprising more than the fact that it happened.
Mhm.
He came out after, I forget what game it was, but another draw that they had. Was it a draw or a
Was
loss? I
it
can't remember.
Leeds? No,
I think it
sorry.
was
No.
Leeds.
Was
Yes,
it
it was
Wolves?
Leeds. Yes, yeah. I think the 1-1 draw after Leeds. Was
Is
it
it Leeds
1-1
or
that they played?
Wolves?
I think it must have been Leeds. But basically, it
Okay,
went on a
yes, I think it
rant.
was Leeds. Yes, Leeds.
It went on a rant saying it's the manager, not the head coach, and everyone should do their jobs. And, basically name checked, Mourinho, Tuchel, challenging the board. And, less than 24 hours later, I think it was let go. Um, Obviously, poor results. Results haven't favored them. The emotional outbursts haven't favored them as well. Player tension, things like that. you've been on record saying that you rate him, don't trust him, or and all of that. But now, obviously, we've all seen what we've seen. How do we actually evaluate Amorim's time? Do you think he was right to have been let go?
Oh,
Man United were right to have let him go.
oh yes, 1,000%. But I see it in both ways. In terms of were they right to let him go? Yes. If you remember our last episode, I literally asked that question and I said, I think this rebuild starts again. They're just dragging their feet in terms of hiring him, right?
Yeah,
Because there were so many things that he did for me that were red flags. And that's why I said I rated him, but I just didn't trust him. One of the few things I kept saying, I remember I told a few of our Manchester United friends, I said, him playing Ahmad as a right wing back, that was a red flag for me. You don't have such talent and you're playing them on the right wing back, right? Another red flag for me was the final against Spurs, Europa League final. He lost that game in a very bad way. The next one for me was Grimsby, right? He lost that game again crazily. Yes, a lot of people will come out and say the players should have done better and everything, but guess what? The responsibility still lies with the manager, regardless, like we always know, right? The main one for me was his inability to be flexible and change his style of play. I have not seen a man who enforces a back three, believes a lot in that back three, and had the amount. I don't even think he had up to 10 clean sheets in 50 something games that he went as the manager of Manchester United, right? But the other question I asked when I flipped the coin is, was he fired because of his results, or was he fired because he literally came out and called out or had an emotional burst against the board? Because these results have been there from
they've
time
been there. Yeah,
and you didn't fire him. All of a
yeah,
sudden, you're pulling the plug when he literally goes on a rant. So
right,
it makes no sense to me in terms of what was the reason he was fired, right?
right.
But then again, I'm not hearing a lot of Manchester United fans or the media talking about Ineos, right? To me, this is the second season that they have wasted. They've had three big decisions since they took over this Manchester United. And I think they've had those decisions they handled those decisions poorly.
I
The
think so
first
too.
decision had to do with Ten Hag after winning the FA Cup. You guys made it seem like you were going to let him go. You were in the market for a new manager, but somehow you stuck with him, right? Then that season, what happens? You still let him go within a few months. Let's not forget they brought in, I think it was a guy from Newcastle. I can't remember his name. They
Omar,
hired, no, that was
is
the
it
Man
Omar?
City guy. No.
Okay.
The
Oh
guy
yeah,
from
the one that they
Newcastle.
let go.
Yeah.
Like,
And
yeah,
that guy
yeah.
was let go within months of when he was hired, right? Then you brought in Ruben Amorim. Ruben Amorim again, like I said, after the final, the Europa League final, that again was a red flag for me that showed me, is this guy really the manager to take these guys forward? Okay, you came in and you said you're staying with this manager, you believe in him, you're going to invest, you gave him 200 million, he brought in the players and everything. The results still didn't go as planned because let's not forget this guy came in November the previous season. So he's had literally a long time, had this preseason, invested in the window, and there didn't seem to be any improvement in your style of play nor results, right? If there was one, if there was improvement in their style of play, we will understand even if they were not getting the results. But there was no improvement in their style of play. There was no improvement in their results. But you chose to keep this guy until he calls you guys out or he has an emotional rant on a press conference. So again, this is three big decisions that this Ineos guy this Ineos group have had to handle for Manchester United, and it's not been handled well. And now moving forward, you're coming again and coming out to say Ole is one of the guys they are looking to bring back in. What in the world is happening in this club called Manchester United? One of our friends asked me, like, who do I think suits Manchester United? And I said to him, to be honest, I don't even know anymore because you've tried every type of manager since Fergie left and it hasn't worked. You've tried legends, you've tried upcoming managers with potentials, you've tried serial winners, and it hasn't worked. I believe Manchester United is a club that have a plan, but they just never follow through with their plan. They set a plan at the beginning of a season, and somewhere midway through that plan, they just throw everything out and say, oh, we're going to go for something else. Because now you ask yourself, what manager, or let me throw that question to you. What manager do you or would you recommend for Manchester United today?
Man, I honestly don't know. Like you called out, they've tried everything. It's funny. I actually see Ole. When Ole was fired, I was one of those people that like one of our friends, KD. We
Mm-hmm.
were always very pro Ole. Some of
Ole,
it
yeah.
half in jest, half in whatever. But I think the my stance on United, and I have to be careful as a shareholder, as you know. My stance on United hasn't changed much in the sense that there has to be a recalibration of expectation at the club. I think in some ways, we spent some time talking about Chelsea, just the previous segment. There almost has to be some of that where you bring in some guy, maybe go young again. That's what United built a lot of their legacy on, class of
Mm-hmm.
92, giving young players
Yeah.
a chance. You almost have to accept, and it's hard when you've been as successful as Manchester United have been over the last 20, 30 years, whatever it's been.
Yeah.
I think it's hard for them to accept that they should go through a period of, rebuild, as you've called it, right? Get some of the dead weight out of the club, get somebody in who can unite the fans,
Mm-hmm.
and the club all over again, give some hope to the young players and really start to build from within. That's one of the things that I think Amarim failed at. I just
Yes.
don't know. When I was looking at some of the, names that are out there, people have thrown Enrique into the chat. It's like
No.
Enrique is a serial
Enrique.
winner that
Yeah.
requires certain conditions. Like if you
Yeah.
look at the correlation between Enrique's time at like say PSG or even Barcelona, where
Barca.
he
Yeah.
had a lot of his success, there were certain conditions that had to fall in place for him to win. Like
Mm-hmm.
PSG is one of the wealthiest clubs in the world. Barcelona had the Messis and all of that. None of that is present today at Manchester United. So nothing gives me confidence that yeah, Enrique is a tactically astute manager, very brilliant football mind, but nothing gives me confidence that he can come in and restore Manchester United to what they expect it to be. So
It's
if
not a
I
good
take that,
fit.
that's my
Yeah.
personal
It's just not
opinion.
a good fit. Yeah.
And as I go through the rest of the names that people throw out there, Tuchel, like I don't know if Tuchel is leaving the England job for United.
For
Like I don't think
United.
that
Yeah.
is something that shifts the needle for him personally. Maybe, maybe not. We'll find out. Xavi, I don't see it. Like, so you almost have to kind of bring tests. I feel like they need to just go find some project and stick to that
Yes.
project and accept that, you know what, over the next 2 or 3 seasons, we'll really just try to
Mm-hmm.
restructure the club and, and,
Yeah.
and bring some new energy into the space. But then, like you said, you ask questions of Ineos. Are they capable of making those
Of
decisions? I
making
don't
those
think so.
decisions. Yeah.
Remember on one of our other group chats, No Fly Zone, shout out to No Fly Zone. When they brought Ineos, everybody was talking about before Ineos. Do you remember what the conversation was?
There
Structure,
is a
structure, structure.
structure, bringing the, yes, footballing people, bring them in.
Footballing people. I remember I
Yeah.
said this thing like, are you people sure that with this Ineos, because they kept pointing at Ineos, Omar, and all these guys coming in, that now there's a right
And
structure in
there's a
place?
structure. Yeah.
I said we're going to be here again in a little while, and all it took was less than 18 months. We found ourselves back in the same position. So I don't think Ineos have also covered themselves in glory in the decisions that they've made. So I
Yeah.
guess to answer your question, I'm not really sure that the manager that United fans would want is the manager that United fans need at this time. I
Need.
think
Yeah.
you really should be looking at. Hopefully, you bring someone. They keep talking about DNA and legacy. Maybe you find someone that understands what United is, because the rest of us don't anymore. Who can kind of restore that glory or passion or whatever you want to call it that they had back in the day to play for that shirt. Right now, I don't
Hmm.
see it.
Yeah. I don't think they're just ready to go through what it takes for them to go back. I think they've always focused on trying to put
Plaster the
newspaper over the
cracks.
crack. Exactly.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think they've always focused on that and thinking, oh, we just need to do this and we get back to this level. No, A lot of clubs have gone through that rebuild. Even when Pep Guardiola came to Manchester City, let's be truthful, he literally rebuilt that club. When Klopp went to Liverpool, he literally rebuilt that club. Mikel came to Arsenal, they rebuilt the club. And that is exactly what, and I still don't understand that we're going, how many years now since Fergie
It's
left?
been 12, 13 years, what, 13,
Exactly.
14 years actually.
Yeah. And they still don't want to undergo that process. The more you keep kicking the can down the road, the more problems that they keep having. Pick a way and a direction for you guys to go and stick to it. Like literally stick to it. But that's why I keep saying, I think they have a plan and somehow they just throw the plan out the window. So it's literally making no sense because I think they should forget about winning for now. They are not in the realm of winning. They don't have the foundations or the facilities for that. Build those foundations first. And after that, you keep moving and moving and moving. That is what they need to do. Up until then, they're still going to keep staying in this circle. I don't see how it gets any better. Like I said, it's funny. We literally said this on the last episode, and I said, I don't think Ruben is the guy. You're just dragging your feet. I don't think this rebuild would happen again. You will let Amorim go, and you will start all over again. So now look at it. Amorim has gone. We don't know who comes in. So that means the whole back three Manchester United they were trying to do is already out the window, right?
They've made heavy investments
Based on
supporting
those
the, yeah,
system,
based on that.
right?
Yeah.
Because if you look at it now, yes, they have a few attackers. So how do you fit in Sesko, Bruno, Konya, Umbuemo, and Ahmad in a starting 11?
It's for Fletcher or whoever takes over as caretaker manager to figure out,
So basically, the season they sacked Ten Hag has been wasted. This season, in my opinion, is also wasted. So they are back again next year, starting all over again. So I think they really need to take their time this time in terms of who they bring in to manage for next season. I think they need to take their time.
I think it'll be really, really interesting if Ole is back because I remember the outcry towards the
The
end of
outcry.
Ole's tenure, like the vitriol that man had to go through,
Yeah.
right?
Go
You know,
through
only to end up in the same position will be really, really
is
crazy.
ridiculous. Yeah, it's
I do think
ridiculous.
though that the United, I know you think they're no longer a big club, but commercially at least, they're still very much one of the biggest clubs in the world, top two at least, right? And I think the weight of those expectations definitely play into the decisions that they make, right? You see that in
Mm-hmm.
the way the fans talk about the club. You see that in the decisions like the owners make going forward. But I wanted to bring up a comment that I saw, right? And you can tell me how that rang with you. I think
Mm.
Ferdinand in one of his podcasts had mentioned
Yeah.
that Ateta would be seriously considering that job or something along
Yeah.
those lines,
Yeah.
if United called,
Yeah.
which in itself tells me a lot about how it's like you still see this as such a desirable job that people are going to
Yeah.
leave situations that they find comfortable for themselves and they've built
Yeah.
stability and culture to for a United job. What did you make of those comments?
It's just a delusional way of a lot of the I don't want to just put it on the fans, but a lot of the fans also do have that type of mentality. And when I came out and said I just don't see them as a big club again, it's not a dig, right? It's not a way of painting them. It's based on where you are today, right? Remember in last episode, we also said the same. We discussed about the same thing when Tony made a comment and say, "Oh, in terms of like the players that they can attract," and I said, "But who are your competitors in the market?" Right? So now tell me, Manchester United, everybody still believes they have that big name, right? If you can't even attract the best players where you are right now, if any massive player is coming to Manchester United, why are they coming to Manchester United? You're coming there to get paid.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are not even bothered. But that was then because the big players don't come to Manchester United anymore. So in what world or in what realistic world would you think that Mikel Arteta would see the Manchester United job and say, that's an attractive job for me? Coming from, mind you, coming from where he finds himself today. What about Manchester United is attractive to big
Yeah.
managers? And I'm
Yeah.
not saying Mikel is a big manager, but I'm just saying in general, right? Like you mentioned that of Enrique. What about Manchester United is attractive to him. There's a possibility you're not in the Champions League next year. You're not in the Champions League this year. Look at how you lost the Europa League final to Spurs. So let's just be logical about it. There is nothing. Why would Mikel say, maybe I should go I should go think about Manchester United? No, those days have passed. You have to rebuild yourself back to those positions where the best players and the best managers want to come to your club. Like, it wasn't far ago we had the likes of Jose Mourinho coming to Manchester United, Pogba, Zlatan, Mkhitaryan, Falcao, Di Maria, Juan Mata, Matic. It wasn't like we can't just forget it. Like, look at where you are today. Look at the kind of players you have been able to recruit in the last few years. That should tell you where you are right now. So,
Hmm.
Rio making that statement, I just felt, I mean, he's going to be biased against Manchester United, which is very fair. But I don't see how that happens. Maybe they have a great shot at getting Maresca, because I said it in one of our group. Like, I think Maresca might actually be one of those managers they should look into if they're willing to do what is right and stand by him and all. But you can't come out and make silly statements and say Mikel is going to think about the Manchester United. There's nothing to think about. Absolutely nothing. I'm
There's
sorry.
absolutely no
There's
world
absolutely
in
if he
which.
was jobless, then maybe I'll see where you're
Yes,
coming from,
yes,
right?
yeah.
But you're not going to say someone who's fighting to win a league right now has built everything that he has built is going to like tell the Arsenal board like, hey, I'm going to Manchester United. To do what?
You know, I think what people miss is that Mikel has built himself quite a bit of leverage at Arsenal,
Yeah.
right? I think he's one of the few managers left that have the title. I think he has the title manager, right? So I know there's been questions about distinction between head coach, manager titles, but he's been one of the ones that was actually offered the title. I think he's done that just based off what he's been able to build at the
Don't
club,
forget he was
right?
hired as a head coach and then it was
Yes, that's
switched.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's built that leverage for himself. He clearly has quite a bit of cachet in Arsenal. So I'm not really sure why we want to leave that and, go join what is an unclear rebuild project at Manchester United. So I found out those comments really, really amusing. But even more telling, it's like, man, you guys still have this expectation that
Yeah.
United is some massive pool, and there's no evidence to suggest that that is true. You see that with Semenyo. I'm sure we'll touch on the City segment and transfer rumors. All the reports we saw was that Semenyo dined with Manchester United and all of that stuff, and it was a clear target for them. And City just came in within a week or two, and they closed the deal, and it's done. Right. So I don't see any evidence to suggest that there is still that pull for United. The big players that they've signed were only, the people in competition with them are the Newcastles and the Spurs of this life, right? So it's not like they signed players away from, the Chelseas, the Arsenals, or the Cities. So if
Yeah.
you can't even do that with players, I'm not sure that you do that with managers. So I thought it was a non-starter to be honest.
Yeah.
But staying on Ateta, I think one of the things I found interesting that I wanted to bring up was the every single time a manager is let go for bad performances or at least under fire, we keep hearing Arteta, like Arsenal's talk with Arteta. And I went back to look at the data. I was like, why do people think that his first few months in charge were such a bad, like, you know, bad
Like I had a bad
outcome?
stint. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I keep seeing the graphic that people share, and obviously it was in midway through the second season. But I think we always discount the fact that the first few games, like his first, few months as an Arsenal manager, he actually steadied the ship. We were
Mm-hmm.
going through a very difficult patch. He came in, I think we lost one or so in his next 10 games, which
Mm.
was to Chelsea, right?
Mm.
And then won the FA Cup, right? Which people tend not to give him credit for.
Yeah.
I don't think he survived the second season if it did not have the type of first, few months that it had, right?
Mm.
Because he had something in the bank. And when
Mm-hmm.
you talk about players like coaches like Amarim, it's like, I don't even see what he did in the first season to survive a second season in the first place. There was no new
Yeah.
manager bounce, nothing. So I always find it really interesting that Arteta is like the, oh, look what Arsenal did with Arteta and where they are today.
Yeah.
What's your take on that discussion?
I mean, a lot of the times, one of the first things I tell to myself that if the manager was that bad, then why are you comparing these other good managers to them? If the manager was that bad, why are you comparing these good managers to them? Right? Like
Mhm.
you said, I think people just don't, or maybe we're just too lazy when it comes to doing our own research to get the information that we need. Right? But it also depends on how people also look at the game, and when they also look at the game, what exactly do they see? How do they interpret things, right? Mikel Arteta did not have these type of results that a lot of these other managers have had when they came into their various jobs, right? A lot of people forget that Mikel in his first year, I don't even think he spent up to £100 million in his first 2 to 3 transfer window when he came to Arsenal, right? If I
And it's
go
not like
back to
yeah, inherited a great squad
that
anyway.
was my next point. When you go back to squads that a lot of these managers inherited, they had much better quality players, right? People forget Ole left with the Sanchos, Ronaldos, Varans, Casemiros in that team, right? Same thing with Ruben when he came in and stuff like that. Mikel dismantled the entire foundation, backbone, skin, everything about Arsenal. He dismantled every single thing and said, I am building this from scratch. All of these other managers that you have compared to him have not done that. They've literally come into a job and tried to continue whatever was already there. Mikel got credit in the bank because of the FA Cup that he won, that a lot of people still don't give him credit for. A lot of people think Mikel Arteta came into Arsenal when Arsenal win, let's say, a quarterfinal or semi-final of the
Right.
FA Cup before he won it. He was there from day one when he won the FA Cup. From day one. This was a guy that came in, saw we were leaking out goals. Remember, we played the back three with Mikel in his first few months. And then the next season was when he switched to back and tried to switch to back four and dropped the likes of Mesut Ozil from the squad. He literally ripped everything apart. And again, if you go back to when we're talking about Ruben Amorim, I said Ruben Amorim did not show improvements in neither style of play, performances, nor results. Mikel, you could see his style of play. Mikel was getting results. And yes, sometimes he did not get the result, but you could see what this guy was trying to do, right? You haven't seen that with these other managers. Even these managers that have won some of the trophies that all of you say this is what the game is about. Why have these clubs fired them? There's more to it than what everybody thinks is just about, okay, yes, win your Carabao Cup, win your FA Cup. These are trophies. These are acknowledgements that the club, but there is more to that. And I keep seeing these things and I keep saying it and I'm like, the way these guys run this club, this tells you that they see these things differently than we most fans do. Tomorrow, let Mikel be sacked by Arsenal, and you see the pool of jobs he's going to have available. Why? Because he has shown that he was able to rip things apart and build a club again from scratch. The only thing missing now is the trophies. That is the only thing missing. And we're going to patiently wait for when he does that. I'll be looking forward to seeing and hearing what people have to say.
I couldn't have said it better. So maybe we'll transition from from there. Staying on Mikel Arteta and Arsenal.
Yeah.
Obviously, big game this week against Liverpool. Number one, and the only oh no, Arsenal had lost two Premier League games going into this game that we just played, and one of them was away to Liverpool at Anfield. And
Yeah.
so there was a lot riding on this, also because the games before that, City had dropped
City
points,
dropped
Villa had
points.
dropped points, so Arsenal had an opportunity to open up an 8 point gap coming off of, what is it, 5 straight Premier League wins. That game was not the thriller that the Premier League had offered or promised,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it was actually such a boring performance if I'm being honest. But I'll
Yeah.
let you get right into it. Like I don't think the lineups were surprising given the players that
Mhm.
were available, but
Yeah.
in terms of performance, that was surprising, at least to me.
Yeah.
But what about you?
It was surprising to me. I think both teams were at the same level in that game. I don't think any team had a good performance. It was a very, like you said, it was a very boring game. It was a very dead game. But looking at it from the Arsenal perspective, it was very disappointing because it was an opportunity for us to get ourselves a little bit of insurance based on the results that happened a day before and the likes of Man City and all those people dropping points. So I think it was a very disappointing performance because I expected the team to come out and try to show something or send a message again in the league where they had a chance to do that. And I think we just failed at doing that. I think the entire team was poor. There's really nobody I can come out and say had a good game, in my opinion, based on how we have performed. Right. So there was I watched the game again this morning, and there was just so many frustrating things, and I just didn't understand where that performance came from. If you want to look for the positives and everything, played a lot of games this season. We've lost only two in all competitions. A few weeks ago, we were 2 points ahead of City, and a lot of people already coming out and say, "Oh, Arsenal is still going to borrow this league." And then a few weeks later, we're still 6 points ahead. Right? So those are the only positives I can take about it. But in terms of the performance and the opportunity, I think it was one that was lost by the team. And yeah, it was a very horrible performance from an Arsenal perspective.
Man, I don't know how you could bring yourself to watch that game again. As soon as it was done, I just closed the thing. I was like, "Yep, I didn't want to think about this." I don't think
Yeah.
I have a bad habit when we lose, and that felt like a loss to me.
Hmm.
Against a Liverpool team that
Yeah.
haven't been the strongest. I just don't like. I don't want any reminders of it. Like it's like,
Yeah.
man, that was. I watched it live. I saw how poor it was, and
Mm.
there's nothing really for me to go back and look at. But like you said, when you get a chance, I think I called you like almost
Yeah.
right after that. I was like, let
I
me
was
get this shit.
heated yesterday.
Yeah, let me get this shit off my chest, man.
Yeah.
You know, I needed to just like rant. But I think when you take a step back, as I have this morning, and kind of put things back in perspective, it's still a strong enough Liverpool side. They're still tactically good to create those kind of problems. It's not an excuse for why we couldn't break them down at home. But like you said, 6 points, you still keep the gap. I was looking at some of the feedback yesterday. I was like, wait, did we lose the game? Like, are we
Hmm.
not 6 points ahead still? Like,
Yeah.
what is going on? Like,
Yeah.
our nearest competitors just drew 3 games, back to back with two of them at home, and
Mm.
I'm the one that's supposed to sit down here feeling twitchy, right?
Yeah.
So I think we obviously put that behind us now, and try to move on. But there are some key talking points from that game, right?
Mm.
Gyökeres, I think there's now a big spotlight on him. He had the
Mm.
fewest touches of any player on the pitch yesterday. Even less, I think he had 8 touches. Allison, the goalkeeper
Allison had more. Yeah.
had 40.
Yeah.
That is 7 games now without even a shot at goal
Yeah.
for Gyökeres, let alone a goal. I think he scored from the penalty spot a few games ago, but 7 games without a shot at goal for a player that was brought in to solve a lot of Arsenal's apparent goal scoring problems. That hasn't quite worked out well so far. I know you've defended him very,
Mm.
a lot this season. I
Yeah.
have my reservations, but
Yeah.
like I said, I prefer not to speak. Thoughts on his performances? Because you gave him 10 games. We're at
Yeah.
21 now in the league,
Yeah.
right? So how do you
Yeah.
how do you measure it?
In terms of his performances, I'll say he's definitely below par. He hasn't met expectations because he's a guy that came in and I expected him to deliver us on goals. And a lot of people, I think where I find the problem in terms of like the Jokeres discussion is, I think is a revision or whatever that word is, right? That everyone is trying to get back and make it seem like he's actually not a good player and stuff like that. And yesterday, when I watched the game, if you remember, I said to you, I finally came to the conclusion and said, I don't see why Mikel plays him anymore. Like, I'm already at the point, like, there's no need for you to have this guy on the pitch because it looks like we're playing with a man down, right? And this is solely based on how we play. When we brought in this guy at the beginning of the season, I saw intentions of us trying to play vertical passes or play more direct, right? And I have compared him to how teams that have like potent strikers, right? And one of the things I notice is teams that have potent strikers, those strikers are considered their primary, their focal point, but their number one option. When they have the ball, when they attack, those are the players that the ball or their style of play is designed for them to use their strongest suits. We don't play in that way. We have the likes of Martinelli, Noni, Trossard, Eze, Saka. So we have so many options that Gyökeres is not considered our primary option. He's not our focal point, right? And this is the kind of guy that he is. You are not going to, no one is going to come to me and tell me a striker that was able to put the ball behind the net over 100 times in 2 years, all of a sudden doesn't know how to put the ball in the net. I don't see him having chances like he had when he plays for Sweden or when he played for Sporting Lisbon, right? But again, like I said, he has to adapt to how we play, but we also have to adapt to what we play. He's someone we have that we haven't played to his strength. And yesterday's game was another frustrating situation. I sent you the one that had to do with the Zubimendi. And in my head, I'm like, all we needed to do there was a vertical pass. The next thing I asked myself is, imagine Rodri and KDB in that situation, where Zubimendi was and he had the ball. Where do you think that ball goes to? But no, we already designed and programmed for us to play through our wings. So most of the time when we get the ball, we're either moving the ball to the left or on the right, primarily the right, right? You see Saka with the ball, he beats his first man. You think he's going to put the ball in the box. He doesn't. If you have the opportunity, watch and you see. Gyökeres has made those runs already. But what do? We bring the ball back, he waits for Timber to overlap, or he takes the ball back to Odegaard. When Timber overlaps, he puts the ball way farther than the 6-yard box and it goes all the way. There was a chance, I don't know if you remember, when Timber had yesterday, he was played through. All he needed to do was just play this ball into the 6-yard box. Gyökeres had made the run. Do you know where that ball ended up? He played it directly to Alisson. And I'm beginning to see the frustration in Gyökeres already. So that's why when I come out to defend him, I'm like, look, we are not playing to this guy's strengths. When I see Man City play, when the likes of Foden, Doku, when they have the ball, they have a focal point. They know who their primary target is to get them the goals and they play to that. We have options. There's a reason why our goals are spread around because we use those options. We don't go to the primary guy and say, this is the guy that is meant to. So in my opinion, I think there's no use of Mikel to use him. Just bring him off the bench and play your Jesus and your Kai Havertz and your Merino because these guys are involved with the play. They come in deep. Think about it. How many times do you see Jesus in the box playing for us now? Because he's not that type of striker. He's someone who's going to come out, he's going to drift left, drift right, involved with the play. There's a reason why Merino plays. Remember, we were saying the same thing when we went to go watch the North London Derby. We said he occupies a position as a number 9, but he doesn't play as a number 9. He's more in the midfield, so he's involved with the play. Same as Kai Havertz. So if we are not going to use this strength that we have, then I don't see the use of like forcing using Gyökeres anymore. Just bring him off the bench. And I watched the game again this morning and I could see the frustration in Gyökeres. And I felt really, really bad for him. So I don't know which way we try to figure that out or how we try to make the best use of him, but it's quite unfortunate that we have a striker like that and is having 7 touches in a game. We've complained about times where Haaland has 6, 7 touches in a game, but guess what? When he gets the chances, he buries them, right? Think about it. How many chances have you seen Gyökeres had and he scuffled them? Let me bring Nunes into the conversation. We all used to get frustrated with Nunes at Liverpool. Why? Because he had the chances, but he used to throw them away, right? Those chances we saw Nunes throw away, how many have we seen with Gyökeres?
I mean, in our internal memo, and I think we're probably going to name this section or this segment the internal memo segment, where we get to bring some of our discussions to the public eye. But I'd shared on our internal memo when one of the guys had mentioned that Gyökeres is not good, and honestly, I don't know if I'm going to go out on a limb and say that he's not a good player. I just think
Yeah.
he's not a good player for this Arsenal setup, right? And I
Yes.
think I made that extremely clear. I remember when we signed Gyökeres, and one of the guys had tagged me on the group chat saying, "You're not going to celebrate or whatever," and I just couldn't get into it because all my fears are now coming to pass.
Pass. Yeah.
Remember, for 2 seasons or so consistently, we kept hearing the Arsenal need a number 9 on our Bantr Sunday calls, and I just couldn't get around to the
Yeah.
solution as being having a
A
number
number
9,
nine.
just because of the
Yeah.
way I understand football, and
Mm-hmm.
particularly the way I understand football that we play.
Yeah. We
We've
play.
already
Yeah.
committed to this manager, so there's no point trying to reinvent the wheel in terms of expectations. We know what we're going to get. It's been 6 years with him. We know how he plays. We know his preferences. So I just always knew that there was going to be a problem with Gyökeres.
Mm-hmm.
That's because his qualities are not the qualities that I would expect for a player in that position. What are those qualities? I think if you're going to excel in this system for Arteta, you have to have the ability to drop in and help in the midfield. That is not Gyökeres's strength. Looks like a guy that runs into space and bangs goals. That's his preference.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have some very good hold up play. I've seen balls bounce over that guy or bounce, hit him
He's
and
not a
just
hold
bounce
up play
off.
guy.
It's not a
Yeah.
hold up play. It's not
Yeah.
a link up play guy.
Yeah.
So when you put all those things together, there was always recipes for what we see today.
Yeah.
As you know, I've been very critical of Odegaard, but I think Odegaard is also just, emblematic of the system
The
that
system. Yeah.
Arteta wants to play,
Yeah.
which is where I get really frustrated. I'm like, guy, you are the one that gets a lot of the touches in the game. You're
In
the
the game.
most quote unquote creative player in this team. I've said numerous times, we don't have a KDB in this team. We don't have even a Bruno. We don't have
Mm-hmm.
a Trent. Odegaard should be that kind of player. And that
Mm-hmm.
kind of player, they adjust the risk reward profile more towards reward. In this team, it looks like we adjust that profile towards managing risk, which is
Mm.
why you see them recycle the play, Saka, Timber, Odegaard. It's like they are really trying not to lose the ball in the middle of the pitch where transitions can be a lot more dangerous.
Yeah.
It's no secret why we concede very few attempts on goal in towards our end of the pitch. It's no secret why we're one of the best defensive teams, because we just don't give plenty of room for opposition teams to do that, right? So I just don't think Gyökeres works in this current setup.
Yeah.
Something's going to have to change, and it's
Yeah.
unfortunate that I don't see that change happening over the next 19 games or so.
Yeah.
I've also said there's a Kai Havertz appreciation day. I said that at the start of the season. People didn't
Mm.
understand what I meant. We're starting to see that people are clamoring now for Kai Havertz to come back. It's almost like the devil that you know is now better than the one that you don't know, whatever they
Mm.
say, right? So I think once Kai is back and obviously Jesus being fit again, I think you'll see chances limited for Gyökeres, which is unfortunate. But you know,
I totally agree with you because, like, even the thing about Kai you mentioned, I remember last season when I used to be one of the few people that would back Kai, and people would be like, "What do you say in this guy?" And I was like, "Look, yes, I understand everybody sees football differently, right? But when you articulate and you see in detail how Mikel plays, you know the players that fit and the players that would do a job for him, right? It's funny because if you remember, I think there was some episodes ago when I asked and I said, do you think we're beginning to have a striker problem under a Mikel Arteta system? You remember when I asked those questions, right? Because I was like, when I see the way we play under Mikel, I notice our strikers, they don't hit the numbers they are meant to hit, right? So I went back to do a research today and I'm just going to just put out the numbers there, right? You remember we let Lacazette go because he wasn't doing the job for us as a striker, right? So I checked his numbers under Mikel Arteta. So I will read them out. He had 3 different seasons under Mikel Arteta. Lacazette had 30 games, he scored 4 goals. Another season, he had 31 games, he scored 13 goals. Another season, he had 30 games and scored 10 goals. When he left Arsenal and went back to Lyon, right? These are his numbers. 35 games, 27 goals. 29 games, 19 goals. 30 games, 15 goals. So he went into a system where he was a primary target and he was a focal point, right? Then I brought Oba into the equation as well. So when Mikel came the first season, he played 36 games. He scored 22 goals, right? That was his half season with Unai, half season with Mikel. His first full season under Mikel, he played 29 games and had 10 goals. By the way, these are all league games. I didn't look into Euro. His following season, he had 14 games and scored 4 goals. When he left Arsenal, he went to Barcelona. He played 17 games, where again he was a focal point, primary target, scored 11 goals in 17. Then he went to Chelsea. He went to Chelsea where he had that his crazy period. 15 games, he had 1 goal. Then he went to Marseille. 34 games, 17 goals. 32 games, 17 goals. There's only a common denominator there. And like you've pointed out, the way Mikel's system is not for a focal number 9. Literally, I did all that research today and I was just like,
just to arrive at that conclusion.
Exactly. I'm just like, exactly. This is the point I've been trying to make. Like, these number 9s do not and will not, as long as Mikel's system stays the same, because we are automatically programmed to always go to the right. Martin Odegaard, Saka, Ben White, or Timber. Even we hardly use our left. By the time we put the ball into the box, we're either crossing the ball to the far end or we're dropping it in behind. When we're dropping it in behind, think about it. How many of our strikers have scored those kind of goals when the ball is dropped back in behind? It's usually our DMs like the Declan Rices and the maybe Marinos or Zubimendi that have scored those goals. So this system is not suited for a striker, which now is like we have no use for Gyökeres in this team. So you might as well just go back to the Kai Havertz, who is going to be involved in the play, who's going to drop deep, win physical battles, do your link-up play, and crashes the box, just like the Merino and sometimes Jesus. So
no, we're definitely getting back there. I mean, I knew the only reason why we've seen this experiment go on for too long is Kai Havertz has been
because
injured.
of the options. Yeah,
That's just it. I don't know how early it was. I think it was in August or September where I said, just watch it. There's going to be a Kai Havertz appreciation day.
The same man that everybody said was a bum.
That's exactly why I called it appreciation day, because I knew that when people see the results that Gyökeres is bringing, they would ask for what, because I think people were inexplicably harsh on Kai Havertz.
Of course,
because when you look at his goal contributions, they were pretty decent.
Yes.
For a guy that's not a natural scorer.
And sometimes understandably so, because let's remember, he also missed some ridiculous open chances and all. But I remember I kept saying, this guy makes us play better.
The comp that I think people fail to see, and I pointed this out to you today in our chat, is, do you remember Klopp's best years with Liverpool?
Yeah,
and the sacrifices that Firmino had to make.
Yeah,
so that Mane and Salah could eat.
Yeah,
that is the same thing I've seen. Whoever is going to come into this system has to be a Firmino type player that allows for the Sakas, the Martinellis, the Trossards. That's why you see that. I mean, Saka is not having the greatest year for him. But if you look at historically over the last 3 or 4 years where Arsenal have been good and competing, the bagsmen have been on the wings. Like Martinelli had his 1 year, Saka obviously had his year. Trossard is having a hell of a year right now. Like, it's always suited to wide players first.
Yeah, that's where football has gone into now. And if you even look across the globe now, like, you can count on one hand how many strikers even hit the 20-goal mark.
Like, you mean like number 9, number
9s in the whole world of football. You can count on one hand
it's crowded
how many
in
of
that
them
space, man.
actually hit 20-goal mark.
And there's always a trade-off too. Like, Harry Kane, I think, is the best at that position in terms of like executing that job.
Yeah.
He's like sometimes a midfielder, right?
Yeah.
He does that better than
Yeah.
anybody else in
Because
the
now
world
you
in
are seeing
terms
a
of
lot of the wingers, the ones that are even hitting those numbers or closer
yeah,
to hitting those numbers more than a lot of strikers. Look at the strikers that came to the Premier League this season.
yeah.
If we're looking at it in terms of numbers, how many of them have actually done better than Gyökeres in terms of scoring goals?
You mean that just came to the league
Yeah,
because
that came
Thiago
to
is
the league
killing
this
it, my
season.
guy.
No, Thiago has been here since last
Yeah,
season,
I
but
know
yeah,
that's what I'm
this is more
saying,
of a
but
season. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Thiago is
So
killing it. I mean,
look at it across the
Ekitike is
board.
having a decent season before
Hmm.
was having a
How many
decent
goals does
season before the
Ekitike have
injury.
this season?
He was at some point the second highest goal scorer before he got injured, isn't it? Or no, they were counting non-penalty goals or some crazy stat like that. So. But
How
yeah,
many
it's
goals
up
does he even
there.
have this season?
I think in the league is like 8 goals or something.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it should be around that, seven,
he's good.
eight.
I'm
Yeah,
pulling it up right now. Um, yeah, eight goals and 3 assists. Like he's having a good season.
yeah, 8 goals.
He's
Yeah,
having a really good season.
8 goals. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, to kind of put a pin on the Liverpool game, I think I don't want to overreact. I looked at the XG numbers. I think it was poor from both teams. No, I think it was 0.5 to
Liverpool
point
had no
0.3 or
shots on
something.
target.
The first time in, what is it, since 6
10,
years or something like
maybe,
or
if
even
not
longer.
more. I think it was
That's
longer.
crazy.
It's crazy because, again, when I'm beginning to also notice that the narrative about teams sometimes is always going to be different. I understand that, right? But it
Right.
was funny when a lot of people thought Liverpool had a good performance. And I was
I
looking at
think
it,
it's
I
all
was like,
relative. I don't
they
think they
had
did. I
the
think it's
second
relative.
half, they just had most of the ball. How many times have we had Arsenal having the most possession but did nothing with it? Liverpool had no shot on target. How does that make them the better team
Yeah.
or had a better performance? And Slot actually came out and said the same, that he's quite surprised that people are coming out to say that was a good performance. From both teams, it was a lousy, bad performance. I can't even remember the last time Arsenal played Liverpool and the game ended in 0-0.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely been a while. That's one game that always has like a lot of goals involved in
Firecrackers,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. So to me, on both sides, nobody played well. That's the reason it was also a dead game because definitely a lot of people expected more.
I'm seeing something, and just to take it back to the first game at Anfield, I think this is what we're going to. As long as Slot is the manager at Liverpool and Arteta is the manager at Arsenal, except something happens in the game to open things up, I think people should expect this. And it reminds me of those Mourinho and Pep days where it's almost like these two guys just cancel each other out
Yeah.
on their best days. Remember, it took the Soboslai free kick to break that thing. I remember what Slot's comments were at the end of that game. He said, if you play that game 10 times, it's probably 8 draws or something. And we're seeing that play
We're
out
seeing
where
that
it's
again.
like these two teams is just like playing chess. Who's going to blink first? Okay, nobody will keep doing
Arsenal have
this.
played, Mikel and Slot have played each other 4 times. 3
There's
draws
only that
and
one
1
win
win.
that exists. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the one earlier this season. So I think I have to recalibrate my own expectations as well when it comes to Slot and Arteta because they are two like purists. People will believe that the game should be played a certain kind of way. And to
Kind of
beat those
way,
kind
yeah.
of guys, you almost need something against the grain. And you're not going to get against the grain from any of those guys against each other. So I think Liverpool can definitely feel better about the result. I don't know that the
They have to.
performance was. I don't.
They came away to the
Yeah,
Emirates, got a draw, and they
yeah.
beat us
So
at
fair play
Anfield.
to
So that's
them.
4 out of 6 points. So
Yeah, fair
definitely.
play to them.
Yeah.
I think the other flashpoint, if there was even one from that game, was the Gabriel, Martinelli, and Conor Bradley incident towards
Yeah.
the end of the game. Bradley went up to contest a loose ball and landed very awkwardly and he hurt
Yeah.
himself badly. I don't think Martinelli knew that, but obviously in the time he acted quite petulant, tried to really, for lack of a better word, kick the injured player off the pitch.
Get him off the
Someone
pitch.
had
Yeah.
asked me about it on our Bantr group chat, and obviously I can't endorse that. That was in his finest moment. Even Martinelli would accept that.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, before we go on, we have to wish all the best to Conor Bradley.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's nothing too serious, and
Yeah.
he recovers quickly. At least has a
Yeah.
full recovery.
Yeah.
But the comments after that, like, oh, classless and all of that, you've seen Sky Sports, you've seen Gary Neville come out to say Liverpool players should have whacked him or whatever
Yeah.
the comments were. Roy Keane having his moments on TV saying that it's an absolute disgrace. What were your thoughts on the reactions to that? What did you make of the incident first? Now, your reaction to the
For me, the
reaction,
incident,
like,
I wasn't happy when I saw the incident, but I saw where Gabriel was coming from, right? Because
right,
at a point you will see Bradley falls on the ground, and I felt when it happened before I saw the replay, I thought he was faking an injury, and it was crazy because Anslot said the same thing as well. That if you see what is happening in football today, he can understand the situation, right? And I think Slot is the person that just summarized it the best, right? Because if you look at the clip, there was a time that Bradley kind of moved into the pitch, right? It looked like he was outside the pitch, but he moved into the pitch. But he actually didn't move into the pitch. It was him just in pain, in
right,
discomfort, right? So it looked like he moved. So I think that was where Gabriel Martinelli was going off. But again, we see this every game. Like
right.
literally every game when players are even in the same game, there was a time Frimpong fell or
Frimpong,
so,
yeah.
and
And the
everyone is
other, yeah,
shouting that why you not having your fair play. There was a time Martinelli as well had a problem as well, and Liverpool like we see this all over the pitch in almost every game, right? If you come out and you think Martinelli is one of those kind of players, then I think that one the joke's on you. But in regards to the Gary Nevilles and Roy Keane, I am sorry. Two of you are the last people that will come out and try to form all types of righteousness when it comes to this. Roy Keane, are we being serious? Gary Neville, you are the one coming out to say like you are shocked the Liverpool players did not whack. Like, how are you condemning a player saying that they were doing something wrong, but you're expecting the Liverpool players to whack a player? Like, again, two of you are the
I thought that was
wrongest. You're
crazy.
the wrongest people to have those opinions. Why? Because of what you did in your day when you were a football player. So for those two reasons, I didn't pay attention to what they said because once it was Roy Keane, I'm like, yeah, bruh, definitely not you. Gary Neville, you as a commentator, that's the comment you're making. And mind you, Martinelli has even come out to apologize because, like he said, he didn't even know that the player was actually injured. In the same game, you remember when um Verts seemed to like he had a penalty when Gabriel tried to like lift him off the ground. And then he
Hmm.
was trying, like, these things happen in every game, right? So if this is what you people are choosing to make a big deal, we have seen worse things happen on this pitch and nothing was talked about it. This is definitely not one I'm going to give. I'm going to give that type of like attention to anything to. And just for the fact is, Keane and Gary Neville, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, I think when you think about like the Conor Bradley incident, like to be fair, the game is happening in real time. We're watching in
Mm-hmm.
real time. A lot is
Yeah.
going on, so no one could have known at the time, like in the
Knew
split
what had
second that we
happened.
saw him fall, that
Yeah.
he had done himself bad, right?
Yeah.
These guys are trying to get on with the game of high stakes. Um, and obviously you see a guy get stretchered off, you never want to see that. I didn't think Martinelli's actions were the best, his
Mm-hmm.
best actions. The Gary Neville, like Roy Keane, I don't have anything to say to
Yeah, like
because,
he's
like,
definitely bottom of
just
that list.
just YouTube Roy Keane,
Like he's bottom of that
just
list. So
YouTube
let's
Roy
not
Keane,
even go
and
there.
the rest speaks for itself. But I think
Yeah.
Gary Neville is one that I kind of expected a much better response, or at least you're you're commentating on a game and you're kind of saying that they should, are you advocating
Disgraceful.
violent conduct
Yeah.
like on Sky
Disgraceful.
Sports, right? But even putting that to the side, right? I think I shared this on one of our chats. It's like what you're asking for is actually really unreasonable because you're saying that Liverpool, who have suffered countless number of injuries this season,
Injuries.
should have a player potentially get sent off for violent conduct, risk a 3-match ban because one player just got injured, who we don't know how long he's going to be out for, and they should lose another player because of what exactly? It just didn't make sense to me. I thought it was a wild overreaction. I think now that we all kind of seen what happened, obviously we can condemn Martinelli's actions after the fact, but football, like I hate that I had to agree with Slot in this instance, but he had put it so well. Like that's what football unfortunately
That's
has
what football
become,
is, yeah.
and it is
Because
what
you
it
have
is.
people doing
So
all times of time wasting, faking injuries and
come on,
everything. And
we all
it's
see
funny
it. All
because
our teams are guilty.
that guilt, that's what I'm saying. Like we see this in literally every game. And when you're coming out, like each team reacted as they should. If you
Right,
remember, like both,
right.
even Liverpool teams, when they went at Martinelli, they reacted
That's yeah,
as they
yeah.
should.
Protecting their own guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Arsenal
yeah,
players also reacted as they should. But when I saw the whole comments and chaos that was happening right after the game, I was just like, come on, man, you guys should just come off it. Like, yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah, we can leave that there. Quickly before we move on from Liverpool, that
mm,
draw actually leaves them in fourth place, but it doesn't give them. They didn't quite gain any grounds. They're still 2 points above Brentford. The chasing pack is still within distance from them for top four. You've seen Slot come out to say that their target now is trying to get a top four, top five finish. What did you make
as
of
they,
those comments?
as they should. I like a manager who's been realistic, as they should.
Right.
Like I've said this before, they are definitely the worst
The
champions that I've
defending,
seen in
yeah,
a
you said
while.
that.
Yeah, they are definitely the worst champions I've seen in a while because you won the league, you went out, you spent 450 million pounds, and you're here, what, 14, 15 points away from the top. I can't remember the last, I would like to check, or I don't know if you have the opportunity to check. At this point, Leicester, after they won the league, were they in similar position? I don't know, I'm not sure.
I have no
But if you can
idea.
check, I'd love to
The
see
one that
what the
comes to
numbers are.
mind is when did Leicester win? 2017?
No, yeah,
No,
yeah,
15,
yeah.
16.
Hold on.
The one that comes to mind is Chelsea. Yeah, so Leicester won in
Yeah.
2015, 2016. So let's move over to 16, 17, and we're what, match day 22,
Mm-hmm.
21. Oh, Leicester were bad.
They were bad.
Leicester were bad, my guy.
Okay, now question. Hold on. Question. How bad were they? Let's put context.
Chelsea was 52 points at the time. Leicester was
Yeah.
21 and they were 15. So that's a 31 point gap.
Okay. Did Leicester spend 450 million in
No,
that
they
summer?
didn't. But that's the
Exactly.
point. Leicester was always an anomaly in this discussion,
Yes.
right? So I
Yes.
don't think that's a fair enough comp. I think the closest comp would have been Chelsea's Mourinho when it was
Did they
let go,
spend
I think,
450 million pounds after winning the league?
I mean, nobody has spent 450
So this
million
is
pounds
why
after
I call
winning the
them
league.
that's
So
why I call them the worst champion. But back to your question, I think Slot is definitely right. I think that's their next target, and I think they will get that. But he's definitely right. Top four is definitely their aim. That's the only way they can salvage the season. I mean,
it's
they
funny
still
you
have the
say
FA
that.
Cup and the Champions League, so I guess there's something they can still salvage out of this season.
They can. I think they can have a good
Yeah,
run in one of those
yeah.
cup competitions. But it's funny you say that because obviously we have a very good friend, brother, that thinks that they're potentially in. Even this was before the game that they're in title
Mm-hmm.
contention. I
Mm,
actually thought that was just brothers just talking smack to each other until
mm.
I watched an episode, this Sky Sports fan talk thing that they do ahead of the game. And there were two Liverpool fans on there who were like going with all the permutations and
But
combinations,
yeah,
saying, if we
if they
beat
beat Everton,
Liverpool,
if
if we
they
beat
beat
Arsenal, we
this,
do. I
yeah,
was
there
like,
will be
wait, are we
three.
being
There will
for
be
real?
6 points by the time they play Arsenal at the Emirates. Even when
Yeah,
he told
yeah.
me, I
I thought it
remember
was just
when he
us,
told
just,
me,
we
no, no,
shoot the
no, no,
shits, right, among each other.
because
Like,
when he told me Liverpool were still in the league, I remember December 26th, 2025. Liverpool
it
were
was being
10 points
serious.
behind Arsenal. Yeah, Liverpool were 10 points behind Arsenal. And he said he looked at it and saw it as a 7 point gap because they were going to come to the Emirates and beat Arsenal. So he literally saw it as a 7 point gap. Today, how many points is it? I think it's 14. So they've gone
Yeah, it's
further,
14.
right? I'm sure you can testify to when I called the time of death or title of Liverpool's title challenge. I called it in October because I literally said the average number of games for any champion to win is 4 to 6 games. And they had lost 4 games as of October. Do you think Liverpool will still lose a game this season?
Absolutely.
So what title race has this thing involved? How are you
Thought
involved?
that was
Because
interesting, man.
let's switch things up, right? Let's switch things up. If Liverpool were where Arsenal are today, and Arsenal was where Liverpool is today, and we came out and said Arsenal is in the title race, what would people say?
Exactly what we heard before, delusional.
Exactly. So there's
Even
no difference.
with being on top, we've heard delusional. So no, I'm actually being very honest here. I thought it was just guys just banter with each other. This is brothers just having banter talk until I went on the internet, like people that I don't know, and I'm
Oh
like,
yeah, a
wow,
lot of people still believe it. Yeah, I mean,
they actually being for real.
which is okay and right
Yeah,
to do because I think this is what makes us fans for a reason, right? Because we always believe in our clubs in whatever reason. It's just like the
right,
same way you're going to have people still thinking Arsenal fans are delusional for thinking that we can win the league this season. The only question I tell them is, if you were in your position, what would you think?
right, right, right,
If you were
right.
in this position, right? What would you think? Do you think you can walk up to an Aston Villa fan right now and tell them they're not in the title race and they'll say, oh,
They
yeah, you're
believe,
right? Of course they do believe,
they
and as
believe,
they
yeah,
should, right?
yeah,
Remember
because they
before the
can work
Aston
out a
Villa
number of
game?
things. Yeah,
Yeah, do you remember before the Aston Villa game on Sky Sports, the fan
you
that came
said
out and
something.
said he
Yeah,
won't
yeah,
take any of the Arsenal players? I'm not going to fault him for saying that because they believe and as they should, right?
right.
So it's just up to us, the ops, to let you know or try to make you see what you can't see because you're blinded as a fan. Just the same way ops also let us know to see things that we can't see because we're blinded or we're biased as a fan. It's the same way that I can assure Liverpool and let them know that anything that has to do with the title race this season, they should forget about it because it will not happen.
Yeah, that's a foregone conclusion. And I
Yeah.
think, when I say that, it's not, I want my team to win and I think my team's going to win. But it's the same way I analyze Chelsea's chances of top four. It has not
Mm-hmm.
much to do with number one, but everybody between number one
Between,
and them,
yes. Mm-hmm.
right? Because if Arsenal were to fail at winning the league this season, no one in their right mind thinks it's Liverpool that's taking advantage, right?
No.
Because there's a City just right behind them, and after City, there's a Villa who that dark horse in this race. So it's like these are the things that have to happen perfectly for Liverpool to be serious title contenders. I just don't see it. Like it's like catching lightning in a bottle for Liverpool to win. So it's not even when I say they're done. I think realistically they know they're done, but
Of course they do.
it's just
These things are numbers,
it's
right?
just a
Like,
numbers game. It's
yeah,
a
like these
probability
things are
event, right?
numbers.
Yeah,
We've all watched these leagues for years, right? And we've seen how the title races have gone the last few years, especially the ones that are tight, right? Like, how are you 14 to 15 points gap is a 5 game swing, right? How many times have you seen people who are really in a title race in January lose 5 game in a row? Beginning of the season is different, right? So think about it in the last few years, the first and second people who were going in for the title, have you ever seen them lose 5 games in a row? So for Liverpool to be in that title race, that means the first or second team right now have to also lose 5 games in a row. Not only do they need to lose 5 games in a row, you need
to
to
win
win
everything.
5 games in a row,
Yeah,
right? And in that 5 games in a row, there's a possibility you play one of those two teams as well,
right.
right?
It's not
So
happening. I think we could
exactly.
just kind
So
of
I'm not
just call it.
here like talking down on them or anything. Like I said, I'm someone who I always tell people, I say numbers don't lie, right? When you look at things and you look at how things happen in so many, it's just the same way when people come out and say, oh, you have to win these games, you have to win these teams, you have to win at this ground for you to win the league. Okay, fine. Show me the facts. Show me the numbers that support whatever it is you're saying. We've gone back, we've looked at it in different ways, and whatever you think does not support it. You saw the way I brought the numbers with Lacazette and Oba in terms of the strikers for us now. I don't just come out and I just don't say these things. When I go to do my research, there are numbers that support that same fact. And that is what makes me strongly believe whatever it is that I believe, because again, we need those facts, we need those statistics to back it up. So, yeah.
All right, let's move on. Final segment, or at least in terms of actual title contenders, Man City. They've now had three successive draws, including two at home.
Yeah.
They're still keeping pace. There's still 6 points between us and them. But what do you make of their title hopes? They've got. I think they had an injury crisis as well. They're in the
Hmm.
midst of an injury crisis. Savinho went
Yeah.
down injured in one of the games. Looks like he's
Yeah.
going to be missing some time. Vardiol also looks like his season is looking kind of sketchy right now
Yeah, I
with the
think him
injury. And
is
then,
almost till almost end of the season, apparently.
right, and then
I think
Diaz
so.
as well.
Yeah.
So with all that in mind, City are still City, but where do you think
Hmm.
that leaves their chances?
I mean, their chances are still there because it's Man City. They have the best, one of the best, if not the best striker in the world. They have the best coach in the world. And you and I were one of the few people that said they were always going to be in the title race even before a ball was kicked, right? So I don't think anything takes their chances away. I think the only problem they're going to face now is having their two center backs going to miss a certain amount of games, right? It's just like when people come out and say injuries are not an excuse for people. And I'm just like, this, I don't understand where we've come to this point where people think someone getting injured is not a reason for a team to perform to its maximum potential. Like, it makes no sense. If you're telling, like, how do you tell Usain Bolt right now to do a 100-meter race? He tells you he has a hamstring, and you tell him that's not an excuse. Like, it makes no sense. So definitely these injuries are definitely going to be a problem for them, but it's how
Hmm.
they handle those injuries that is going to, you know, be the main talking point for Man City. But I think they're still going to be involved in the race. Like I said, the only thing I think is going to be a problem for them is how they handle the injuries to their center backs in Vardiol and Diaz, because they're definitely the best number one and number two options for them. And now they have to figure out a way to, because if you even see the games, if you see the game against Brighton and all that, like Brighton opened them up a few times in that game, right? So these are the same type of challenges they're going to face in the next few weeks. And I'm just hopeful they don't accumulate as much points needed for them to,
Yeah.
overtake us. Exactly. That's just it. But in terms of their title race aspirations, I don't think anything changes for me, in my opinion.
Do you think they go in the transfer window to address some of those gaps? Obviously, they've just
Yeah.
recently
It's
signed
Man City.
Semenyo, which we talk
Is
about a
Man
bit.
is it's Man City. Think about them. They were in the same position last January. They brought in what 4 to 5 players. I don't know if they will do the same 4 to 5 players, but I can see them bringing in a centre back. Right? We've already heard that they're showing massive interest in Gehi. I hope that is not the situation. I hope they don't get him. But it's the sensible things to do, right? Look at how they just brought in Semenyo. We spoke about this on our last episode. Like, Man City is that team that they always try to correct or fill in whatever gaps that they have in their squad in a very timely manner. So I will not be shocked if it would be the right thing to do, and I will not be shocked if they do, because it's Man City.
They've spent 400 and what is it, almost 450 million in
They
the
are
last
hit.
12
They are
months.
close to 500
Oh,
million since January.
whoa,
Yeah,
12 months. That's
12
that's
months.
massive.
Yeah, that's very very
Yeah.
massive. But it's
In
Man
terms
City is what they
of
do. Yeah, it's what they
in
do.
terms of
It's not a dig at them. Like, I wish my club does the same thing, right?
yeah, give me
Yeah.
that money.
Exactly. Like, if I have an injury, you go out. It's just like when the news came out for Gehi, like Arsenal are showing interest in Gehi. People are saying, "Oh, like, why would you go to Arsenal? What you do?" And I'm just like, well, what are you guys talking about? Like, when Man City assembled these players, it's okay. But when someone else want to do it, it's a problem. Let's not forget this same Man City at the time had Diaz, Laporte, Vardiol, Owens, Ake. Five center backs.
Akonji,
Thank you.
you know.
I even forgot about Akanji. They had all these guys playing in the same team at the same time. So for me, when I saw that Gehi news, I was really happy. I hope it doesn't go to Man City. I'd rather be putting my heart in that Bosman transfer in the summer, because I would take a Gehi. So yeah,
Yeah. On the Semenyo deal, that was fine. I mean, it was the worst kept secret over the last week and a
yeah,
half or something, but it's finally been announced. I think it's completed his medical, signed
yeah. He
officially for
signed,
the
fully
club.
signed. He can even play tomorrow.
Right. So what do you think that adds to Man City? Where do you think it fits into the club?
I think he fits. I mean, I think he fits into the club. I think there's a situation where he's a starter, although Pep likes to do a lot of his rotation, but I think he's better than what they have in terms of their wingers. In my opinion, I think automatically he should be a starter ahead of Doku and Savinio. Depends also where he wants to play tricky. So again, I think it was someone they needed, and you definitely need to applaud them for getting the business done as quickly as possible. Yes, some people are going to have some reservations. The only reservation I will have is knowing Pep. Pep has always been the guy that tries to ease player into his team. So how many starts is Mayo going to get? How many games is he going to play? That's the only reservation I have. But in terms of his quality, he's definitely a very good player. He's used to the league. He's going to play or join a very good team under the best manager in the world. So I think it's a plus plus and a win-win for them. 62 million, I think 62 million pounds for a player like Doku right now in this market, in this transfer window in January.
Doku or Semenyo?
Sorry, Semenyo. Oh yeah. I think it's a no-brainer.
Let's spend the last couple minutes here, looking around, I guess the big clubs, if you want to call it that, the big six, or at least teams that you think need
Five.
to do some business. That's what I was trying to find the semantics.
Big
I
five.
think we're removing the same team from this
Yeah,
six that we're
big
talking
five.
about. But
Yeah.
in terms of what teams need to do, let's quickly go around the league. What do you think Arsenal need in this transfer window? Do you think we do any business?
Do we do any business? I don't think so. If we do, I think it's going to be more like potential type of signings in terms of like young players. If we had to, I think I would bring in someone in the defensive aspect. We've had a lot of injuries in that part, and going into the crunch time of the season, I don't want us lacking in any situation. But the chances of us signing somebody, I think, are very slim, next to none. Because, like I said, trying to improve this Arsenal team, to me, you should be bringing someone better than what we have. What do you think for us now?
I think the real discussion is not in incoming, it's really in outgoings. Because, like you said, incomings is really hard. We're already stacked, to be fair. It's not like you can. We've talked about Jokeres, but it's not like you can go spend another 80 million bringing in a striker, even if they were available. But I think the one I've heard a lot of people talk about is what happens with a player like Waneri. Does he go on
Mm.
loan? And for my selfish
I hope he
reasons, for my
doesn't.
yeah, for my purely Arsenal hat on, I don't want him to go. I don't expect him to go, because I think we're getting into the business end of the season
Mm-hmm.
where you want as many players
As
ready
possible.
and
Yeah.
available to go. So,
Yeah.
I would expect him to stay. From his personal career development, I can see his agents will probably be advising him right now to consider a loan elsewhere. I wouldn't want him to leave. So you're right on Arsenal. I don't really see much coming in. I
Yeah.
hope nobody leaves. So this
I
is
hope no
this
one
is where
leaves.
we
That
are.
of one
Yeah,
area, I can understand it, but I think people also need to realize one area is a very young kid. He's what, 18
right.
or 17,
18.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, 18. So it's like you're still young, man. Like you had the opportunities based on the injuries. You're still gonna have your opportunities this season. We're in January now where we're in 4 competitions. I don't see how or where he doesn't play, right? To maximize what we have, I think he should stay. I think we need him to stay and stuff like that. We've seen how injuries just come out of nowhere and stuffs like that. So I think we really do need him to stay. I wouldn't let him go, in my opinion. If I was going to let him go, it would be in the summer, where I know you're going somewhere that we can trust you and you're going to play a lot of minutes. Yeah.
we've talked about City. Obviously, we just talked about Arsenal. If we think about Chelsea
Yeah.
and the kind of transfer business that they've been doing, what does a Chelsea transfer window look like from your outsider's perspective?
I think the first place they would need to improve, I'll say, their defense. I think they need a solid center back, someone they can trust. But I don't think January is the market for that. But also for the fact they've brought in a new manager, and I think this is also applicable to Manchester United as well. For the fact they've brought in a new manager is like, who and what are those? Are you bringing in loan players to help? I think maybe that might be the best direction for both of those clubs, just for the fact they have a new manager and he also needs to evaluate the team. I don't think you can evaluate the team that quickly within 28 to 30 days and go spend whatever money you need to spend. So I think if they have the ability to bring in um players on loan that would help both squads, I think they should look into it. But I don't think January is the window that would help Chelsea and Man U especially, just because of the change in management and stuff. Actually, just before we go forward, I remember there was something there was a place I saw in link about Ruben Neves. He's going to be free in the summer, and apparently he's open to a loan to England, especially Premier League or anywhere. Would you take him at Arsenal?
That's the former Wolves guy, right?
Yeah,
Oh, um, honestly, what position? Center
he
mid or
plays as
something,
an eight.
attacking mid?
Yeah, yeah, he
Yeah,
plays as an
yeah.
eight. Yeah, so almost that Declan
That's-
Rice role.
Yeah, I could, but again, we're at the point now where I think
Stacked.
everybody that comes in, you have to be super elite.
You have
You
to
know,
be,
we have
yeah.
Eze has joined the team, and you're hearing people talk about finding minutes for Eze. So if
Yeah.
Neves comes in, I'm just not sure, where it
I think
fits.
that is
So
someone Manchester United should look into because he walks straight into their team.
yeah, that's not very hard to do right now. So
Yeah, he walks straight into
yeah,
their team. So maybe he's the kind of player I would say Manchester United should look into. He's a player that can do a job for them, especially for 6 months. Yeah. But it's hard
yeah.
to,
Also,
yeah, with the new change, with the new managers coming into those two clubs, yeah, it's very,
yeah,
yeah, it's very tough
yeah.
to
You're
say
right.
where would they
Yeah, there's
straighten,
no.
what
I,
do
I
they
don't
need to
expect
do.
any.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I won't be shocked if they don't really do anything. Chelsea have a lot of players, mind you, right?
too many.
So, in terms of Manchester United, the likes of Mbuemo and
Ahmad
what's
is
the other
still coming
guy?
back. Who?
Mbuemo is already on his way back right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Did
Mbuemo
they
is on his
lose
way
today?
back. Yeah, they lost. I think
Yeah,
Ivory Coast play tomorrow. Okay, Mazarawi plays for Morocco,
more.
so he's still there. So I think Mbuemo is the one that is on his way back right now. But to me, I think if there's any way they need to improve, I would say their midfield.
Yeah. I think we spent what an hour and a half talking about football, and obviously we didn't mention the noisy neighbors in North London. So maybe we'll give them a minute or two. Thomas Frank has come under a lot of scrutiny
Yeah.
because fans are expecting more, and it looks like they are pretty much where they were last season, or not that much better anyway. Kudus has gotten injured. Looks like it's a considerable injury that's going to keep him out of football for a few months. Those two things, right? Do they stick with Frank? Do they, go in the market and get a player to fill in for Kudus? What do you think they do now that they've let go of Brendan Johnson?
I think the first question you need to ask is what exactly is more for Spurs, right? If the fans are expecting more, what exactly is more? Were you expecting Thomas Frank to come in and keep you around the top four? That was never going to happen, right? Thomas Frank is the kind of manager that needs time to get things working. Also, he's had a lot of injuries. You've had the Kulusevski, the Madisons, the Solankes. Those guys have not been available, right? And a lot of them as well didn't play a lot of games for them last season. So that's why I'm asking what exactly is more. Now you're saying Kudus is injured. Kudus hasn't really set the league on fire since he came to Spurs. He started the season very well, but if you think about it up until now, he hasn't really done much, right? So I don't know what expectations they had. Where they are right now, I'm not surprised because I didn't expect Frank to just flip the switch for them. I knew it was going to take him time. He's going to have to build a team in his image and how he needs and wants them to play. So I think just because of them winning the Europa League last season, they were expecting some, I don't know. Again,
I
that's why
don't
I
know.
said
I
what
think
exactly is more for Spurs in terms of
I think
what,
you're
yes, they
being
should be better than where they are right now because
yes,
I think they are where?
yes.
14th?
14th.
Yeah. So I
So
think
I think
maybe
the
that's the
challenge for
expectation.
Spurs, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not a Spurs fan, but if I were, never can happen. When you look around the table, and you see a newly promoted
Let me
side
open
in
the table.
Sunderland ahead of you. Like I'm looking at it right now. Sunderland is 10th. Of course, there's not a lot of points between all these positions, but then basically that is telling in itself that you went and spent the money you spent, and you
Hmm.
told us the European champions. And you look at a newly promoted side in Sunderland sitting above you. You look at Everton sitting above you. And even more telling is the team that Thomas Frank left to
Hmm.
join you, Brentford. Brentford lost Thomas Frank. They lost Embuemo. They lost Wisa, two of their top two goal scorers. They lost Norgard. Everybody had Brentford as the team that
Relegation. Yeah.
was going
I did
down.
as well. Yeah.
And you see them in fifth, 6 points above Spurs. I think that is probably where the frustration is also coming in for a Spurs team, where it's like, at least we should be better than some of these teams, and they've not.
I'm sorry, when I look at how they've played this season, that's why I always ask people, when you look at the table, do you think the table is lying? The table is not lying to me. We've watched a lot of these games, and have Spurs played, when you've watched them, have they played good? That is one. Two, they have a lot of injuries. So what are you expecting this guy to do? Right? Like literally, what are you expecting this guy to do? I think if you look at their best 4 to 5 players, majority of those players are injured. Romero
Mm-hmm.
is always collecting suspensions here and there. Solanke, their striker, is not available. Best creative player in Madison is not available. Kulusevski, who was very, very good, is not available. You've sold Johnson that was getting you guys goals.
I
You
thought that
spent
was
so
crazy.
much, yeah, you spent so much on Xavi Simons, he's not playing well. What exactly are you expecting? So that's why I said it depends on what those kind of expectations. But if you actually dig deep, where they are in the table, I'm not surprised. All the teams above them have played better football than them. Crystal Palace has played better football than them this season. Everton has played better football. Brighton, Sunderland, Fulham, Chelsea, Man U, Newcastle, Brentford. Then the top four. They've all played better than Spurs this season. So again, the table does not lie. Maybe when they get their players back, then we can judge them off that. But based on the injuries they have, the football they've played, and the new manager that they have that will definitely take time to get things into place. Believe me, even if they fire Thomas Frank today and bring in another manager, I can promise them it's not going to be any better. It's not.
Man. Anyway, yeah, I don't see it either. I
Yeah,
just,
it's not.
we have some core audience members who follow
Yeah.
our show weekly, so we owe them the right to talk about that. They're sports fans. So we owe them at least a talking point on the on the show. I wanted to end with something that I saw on one of our chats. People talking about how this year's league is not the greatest quality, not the greatest in terms of competition. And the sole justification of that I've seen, I haven't seen any indication otherwise, is that there's only, what is it? I'm looking at fifth in 33 and 15th in, 26. So what is that?
Mm,
7 points gap between
mm,
fifth and 15th, if my maths are correct.
yeah.
But basically, there's not a lot of gap between the fifth and the 15th place team. And that is the justification for why this league is, not as great. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's just, again, lazy talk. Remember, I said it at the beginning that I'm noticing a lot of us, we don't even do our research. We just go off what we think or we assume, right? This is a league that has better players, better managers, and everybody has money. The competition is much more difficult. That's why you're having so many teams so close to each other in terms of points, because anybody can
Right.
beat anybody on their given day, right? If you go look at this time of the season in other years, I will bet you'll see similarities in terms of it, right? The first part of the season is done. That's the prerequisite part. I call it the prerequisite part. This is the crunch time in the season. And then from March, April, squeaky bum time. So again, I just look at it like it's just lazy. People just haven't done their research or seen. It's just lazy. It's just lazy take for me. It's definitely a much harder league. It's definitely a much difficult league. Like I said, better managers. Like, think about it. Okay, Manchester United have sacked their manager. Chelsea have sacked their manager. People are talking about Areola from Bournemouth and Glasner from Crystal Palace to go take over those jobs. Why? If the league is that crap, why are you looking into those managers? Why are you looking into those
Fairs.
managers? Let's not forget, Areola is a guy that lost what, 4 of his back 5. Today he just lost Semenyo. But they're still trying to figure out and get a job done, right? So if the league is that crap, then go outside and go bring in much better managers. Don't look inside. Everyone has much money than they used to before. So this season is definitely a difficult season, I think. I think it's very difficult this season, but you can only face the competition that you have in front of you, right? Some teams have not lived up to expectation. That's why they are where they are. I think some people don't also want to take responsibilities for that.
Yeah, that last part is key. I try not to be a prisoner of the moment. This season is one of the hardest I've seen in
I've
the
seen,
time that I've been
yeah,
watching Premier League. And
yeah,
it's always funny to me because you look at the same data we're all looking at and we can all come to very different conclusions. I think
hmm,
Arsenal are on track for a 91 point season, which is one of the highest if you discount a lot of the Centurion numbers. Definitely much higher than last season's title winners. And nobody was
yeah,
talking about last season being poor.
yeah,
Um, and I think there's just more parity in the league now where you have the middle of the bunch. Like the top is still what you expect it to be. Like
expect
the
it to be.
gap this season and last season between number one and two is roughly the same, plus or
Hmm.
minus maybe 2 points here and there.
Yeah,
But what is different is what's happening in the middle. And I think that, like you said, new money is coming, lots of money is coming, better players, more parity. PSR is really leveling the playing field in some way, right? Um, it's a better distribution of players across the league. And so you're seeing that reflect in the performance. I think if Chelsea, if Spurs, if United, if the familiar Big Six were in the Big Six, nobody's having this conversation. But
exactly.
I think people are interpreting the fact that they've not been as great,
Hmm.
discrediting the likes of
Of the smaller
Aston
teams.
Villa,
Yeah,
discrediting the likes of Sunderland, Brentford, and saying that that means that we have a poorer product. I don't believe that's the case. I think we actually have a much more exciting product. I think you watch the games now, there's jeopardy pretty much every single game.
everywhere. Yeah.
Anybody can get it at any
Yeah.
time.
Normally, most times you look at Manchester United, Burnley, everybody will call Manchester United to win their game,
Yeah.
right? When you watch the game, would you come out and say Burnley did not deserve a result? You can't come out
No.
and say that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now look at Manchester City signed Semenyo today. They signed Semenyo from a Bournemouth that is what? 15th or 16th in the
Right.
table. So that tells you someone that is 15th or 16th has such quality players that the best manager in the world is willing to take that player and add to his team that is fighting for the league.
Right.
When
And he
you look
probably
at
walks right into the starting lineup.
walks right into the starting room, when you look at players like Wilson in Fulham, do you think none of the big teams will do with a player like that? Thiago, who is playing for Brentford, yes, they are fifth. He is already on course of hitting 20 goals in the Premier League. Everyone's got quality,
Right.
right? Look at the Newcastle Leeds
Thiago
game
is the
at St.
second
James
highest
Park
goal
the other
scorer in
day.
the
He's the
league. That's
second highest goal
crazy.
scorer in the league, and he
That is
plays for
crazy.
Brentford. You remember
That
when
is
Solanke
crazy.
was hitting numbers in Bournemouth? That's why
Right.
Spurs went to get him from Bournemouth. So you can't come out and say the league has gotten way better and much more difficult because you have better managers, better quality players.
I think that's a good place to end it this week. There's FA Cup coming up, but the next time we're here, we'll kind of review the games that have been played because I know we have quite a long episode. We covered quite a lot on today's episode already.
Yeah,
But my guy, it's always good catching up with you, man, and
great to
looking
catch up.
forward to the next episode too.
Most definitely. See you
We're in a
around
group
and
chat, so
we speak every day.
we'll be speaking there. We speak every day, so
Yeah.
definitely looking forward to our Sunday banter call as well. I think that's our first one back since the holidays. There's a lot of people that have plenty to get off their chest as well. So Sunday will be fun. Looking forward to
Yeah, it's
Sunday,
gonna
man.
be fun. And just like quick shout out to like the viewers and everybody. We appreciate how you guys have been supporting us. Please subscribe to the channel, hit the likes button, and we're gonna keep doing
All of
this
that
every week
stuff.
for everybody, man. We appreciate you
That's
guys.
right.
So
That's right,
peace.
man.
Yeah.
All right, we'll end it right there. That's the best way to end it, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.